just being a role model for those kids is great. And I have older siblings telling me that their little brother is saying they're Derrek Schone whenever they're playing football, and it's great. I love it.
It was at that particular moment that Derrek Schone's football career had come full circle, for it was not so many years ago he himself was one of those Triopia tykes running around on-camp field wearing the powder blue, pretending to be one of his Trojan heroes. Fittingly enough, in this case, the last player from his program to also claim Khqa Player of the Year honors.
It's unreal. I remember watching Cliff whenever I was in grade school and always wanting to be Cliff.
In Derrek Schone's case, those days of play pretend have been made reality, hewn from a career that ranks with any of the pantheon names in the storied history of Triopia football, from Cliff Bumgardner even to the legendary Jay Wessler.
Well, he's got to be right up there. You know, he had over 1,000 yards his sophomore, junior, senior season. And to be the all-around player that he is, I think he fits right in there with those guys. And I don't think Jay or Cliff or any of those guys would have a problem with you mentioning his name and right in the same sentence with them. And they're proud to know Derrek and the type of player that he's become. And, you know, he's just carried on their tradition real well.
But what truly is the measure of Derrek Schone's legacy in this proud football community? And why is it, among 50-some-odd programs in the entire Tri-States, that this kid rises to the level of Player of the Year? Especially in a season when he was in competition with a host of Division I recruits, and when his own personal statistical numbers dipped from a year ago. The tangible answer to that question is this: no single area player had a more broad impact on his respective program, as Derrek Schone was the only player in our area to appear on our final top 10 lists offensively, defensively, and in special teams.
Yeah, I know a lot of people look at his offense, but I think he's a better defensive player. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I just think we were so fortunate the past 3 years to have Derrek at free safety to clean up everything that we might miss up front. And I think it allowed our linebackers and people of that nature to be, you know, play more downhill and not worry about missing tackles because he was going to be there to clean things up. And, you know, just watching him on film early in the year, especially against West Central in Game 1, I'm like, man, he's everywhere.
While his work at safety may have been quietly luminous, the splash factor with Derrek Schone came when he had the football in his hands. He had 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns this season, 2 of them in successive weeks. And despite Concord Triopia's by-committee approach to rushing the football, Schone tallied over 1,022 ground yards and 16 touchdowns, the byproduct of Rich Thompson's remarkable restraint in not force-feeding his All-Stater on every possession.
It's hard not to a lot of times, and a lot of times I got a lot of faith in Derrek, and a lot of times I'd look out on the field and he'd kind of be pointing, give it to me this time. It is tough sometimes to not want to call his number all the time, but the premise of our offense is to try and stay balanced and keep people not knowing what's coming every time and to use 4 backs, and I think that helps us. But yeah, it's pretty tough sometimes when you don't give him the ball as much as he maybe deserves.
While Derrek Schone's on-field performance across the board ranks with any player in the area, it was his intangibles that put him over the top here. That was never more in evidence than the first time this Trojan team got punched in the mouth at Camp Point Central, when an ailing Derrek Schone, laboring through a shoulder injury, showed his teammates the true meaning of fighting through adversity.
Yeah, I could move it, but I didn't want to. And yeah, it bothered me for the rest of the year, but you know, it wasn't anything bad.
A lot of the kids turned to him and saw that it was time. You know, he was basically putting his body on the line. I think a lot of them kind of bought into that after that week, and you know, I appreciated that kind of leadership. You know, he was in some pain, but he's played in pain before, and he's just a warrior in that aspect. And I think, like I said, I think a lot of the kids saw that night and looked back on that the next week at practice and thought maybe I can up my game a little bit too.
The love of the game, I guess. I love the game and playing and competing and playing for my teammates, my best friends.
But there was also a deeper imperative for Derrek this year, one that inspired not only the program, but an entire community. The one pall you see on this otherwise dream season for Derrek Schone was that he couldn't share it with his stepmother Pam, who passed away suddenly on August 13th at the age of 45 years old after a battle with cancer.
She was Triopia's biggest fan, and I just wanted to put on a show for her, and She would love every minute of it. And the heart thing was just, I don't know, just something out of the blue, and it was wanting everybody to play with their heart, and if you got your heart set on something, go for it. It was everything. It kept me going, and Trilby community is unlike any other. It's a big family, and everybody just came and took care of us.
And in Pam's honor, Derrek and his teammates took care of business, rebounding from that loss to Central Southeastern to reach the Class 1A Final Four, something Rich Thompson believes would not have happened in the absence of your 2012 KHQA Player of the Year.
Not to take anything away from our supporting cast, those guys, we've had a great group, especially the last 2 years. Our seniors the last 2 years have just played fantastic football. But Derrek's kind of been the glue that kind of keeps us together, as are some other kids. But I definitely don't think we probably got that many wins the last 2 years.